One question I have is just out of curiosity. So, what have you found with the women with hormones and the carbohydrates?
One of the things that, so one area that I talked about a little bit earlier in dentistry, this niche area of dentistry, dental sleep medicine, where I help people basically sleep better by treating sleep apnea and sleep disordered breathing, which includes everything from snoring to like severe obstructive sleep apnea. But I've gone deep into sleep. And next to nutrition, I think it is probably the core pillar of health. Like if you're not sleeping right, nothing else is right. It's going to mess with your hormones. So with the fitness, you're not going to be able to lose the fat, et cetera, et cetera. One thing, this is just an example where carbohydrates can help, not just women, but basically anyone, people that have sleep issues. So carbohydrates, like for example, if someone has like a tablespoon of honey before bed, helps release serotonin, which helps you go to sleep. And I've found it to be helpful for certain people with sleep issues, but like we can't get over what's going on, and we add some carbohydrates later in the day. And I usually recommend carbohydrates later in the day for a number of reasons. And then we start sleeping good again. And so I'm like, look, I'm always weighing cost and benefits in my head, and especially when it comes to like medical interventions, we go deep into that. Almost anything has a cost benefit relationship, and so there might be some detriment to eating some carbohydrate later in the day, for example. But if it's helping you sleep better, the pros from that are going to outweigh the cons that we might have. And so it's not like it's an indefinite thing that I'm like, but it could be a short-term band-aid to let's just start sleeping good, and then we can mess with it from there. So that's just one example of using carbohydrates as like a medicine, so to speak.
Yeah, no. And I agree with you there. I mean, I think of it as a band-aid, but you're right. I mean, I think there are some people that if they add a little bit of carbohydrates a little bit before they sleep, if there's like a cortisol spike in the middle of the night, it won't be as significant, which then won't make them wake up. And then they can kind of sleep through the night. And if you have better sleep, then in general, your cortisol will be lower, your blood sugar. And so I can see what you're saying with that. And, but I do think it's a band-aid, but you're right. Like I never thought about that, but if it improves your sleep, maybe it's a very worthy band-aid. So yeah, I think that makes sense.
It is a lot of times a band-aid because it is people that are having trouble tapping fat stores often. And so the body's having a hard time tapping fat stores because of chronic hyperinsulinemia. The blood sugar gets low and they can't use their fat. And so they're waking up in the middle of the night, cortisol spiking, trying to get carbohydrates out of the liver, and it's interrupting their sleep, where like the last thing I would recommend for treating insulin resistance is eating more carbohydrates. But in certain circumstances, I'm like, if that helps us sleep, and then we can start combating the insulin resistance throughout the day.
Right.
It's a small price to pay.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think it's the net positive of things, right? So I love that you're all about like daily wins and focusing on the kind of momentary gains instead of looking long term. And then also these momentary band-aids that maybe the net positive is better. And I think I'm totally a fan of that. So I've recommended some of my clients, the fructose in the honey, it's just absorbs so quickly. So then they don't do as well as maybe like a sweet potato or something that has less oxalates, but some other kind of, that's again goes to where you just got to figure out what works for you. But yeah,
like you're talking about, it's a cost benefit, but it's just like we were talking about the cost benefit. Because when we start talking about plant foods, one of the things I'm talking about is like you just said, we have a sweet potato. It has all these benefits, but it's high in oxalates. So there's a cost to that. Someone that has a real good digestive tract and oxalates aren't such an issue, probably just fine. Someone that's got a damaged gut that's eating a lot of oxalates could be a problem. So like my dad, for example, just his nephrologist finally just put him on a low oxalate diet. I'm like, wow, someone's catching on. But it's because he had kidney stones, and it's something I hope to never have. But the cost benefit, his gut's damaged, he eats too many oxalates, gets kidney stones. And so, cost benefit relationship.